Hello everybody. Today I am lit with natural lighting because my power is out and usually I don't open my windows, like I don't pull back the curtain and let the sunlight in because I live on a first floor. And I'm one of those people who cannot stand the idea of somebody walking by and seeing what I'm doing, even if it's just sitting on my couch doing nothing, especially if it's sitting on my couch doing nothing. Partially if it's sitting on my couch doing nothing, also anything else I could be doing. I just don't like the idea of people seeing me living my life. I don't know why. But yeah, so normally the sunlight is persona non grata, but power outage. Luckily my camera is charged, so I have something to do, which is babbling at it, because I already ran the battery down on my 3DS. So today I figured I would just tell the story of how I got my mother addicted to Harvest Moon, and how her being addicted to Harvest Moon actually made me better at farm sims. And when I say Harvest Moon, I mean I started my mom on Harvest Moon as a gateway drug, and now she's just generally all farm sims. Like, y'all should see my mom's farm in Stardew Valley. Oh my god. But to start, we have to start with my journey with Harvest Moon, which actually began with the first Harvest Moon game I believe I ever played was Friends of Mineral Town, or possibly more Friends of Mineral Town. It was the Game Boy Color game, whichever, or Game Boy Advanced, whichever one that was Mineral Town or more Friends of Mineral Town. But it actually wasn't my game. My friend loaned it to me like on a road trip I went on with her, and she was like, here, don't save, but just play until we get to where we're going, because I couldn't save to like mess up her save file, but and I really liked it, and I got into it from that point. And I do not have my original copy. I did have the GameCube It's a Wonderful Life. I might have rented it a few times. Maybe I only rented it. I don't really remember specifically. But that was definitely the game that I played the most after that. My second Harvest Moon game being It's a Wonderful Life. I do now. I no longer have the GameCube copy, which now that I'm like talking about it and actually thinking about it, I may or may not have it. But that was the game. It was actually the GameCube version. I do now have. I have a ton of visual aids today, because, I don't know, I guess I just thought y'all might find seeing my Harvest Moon collection interesting, because it's a lot. So apparently my SD card was full from the couple of hours worth of footage I have for another video I'm working on that y'all won't see for a while, because it's gonna take some time, and I'm not gonna spoil what it is. But trying to pick up from what I was talking about, I do have the PS2 port of A Wonderful Life. I believe this was actually given to me by the same friend who originally loaned me her Friends of Mineral Town game. So that's cool. Yeah, but this was the same game, except they like made one extra character marriageable. Or whatever. But those were like my major introduction into the series, and I kept on from there. So after Wonderful Life, I also don't own my original. Again, it might have been one that I rented, but I don't own the original copy that I played of Magical Melody. But Magical Melody was like my favorite Harvest Moon game, and it's still up there for me. I've never actually completed it, though it's on the list. I'm actually going through and trying to complete every Harvest Moon game I own now. I used to be really bad at Harvest Moon games, though. So, like, Magical Melody, I didn't ever get that far. I think A Wonderful Life, I did at least get to the end of the year and get married at one point. But then I guess I had to return the game or something, because I just don't still have it. And I don't remember getting rid of it either, so yeah, it might have been a rental. But then, I don't have any of the handheld games until Harvest Moon DS. And like, so much Harvest Moon DS that DS Cute came out, but I needed it so bad. It was either that this was cheaper and I could afford it, or that DS Cute hadn't actually come out. So I have DS, the original version that makes you play as a boy. Sure was inconvenient that they released those as two different releases, and luckily almost everything else since, except for some of the Rune Factory games, which I am including in this video talking about because they are Harvest Moon to me. I know they're also a completely different series, but they're also exactly the same. You just get to swing your sword at stuff. But yes, so I was so anxious to get this game as a kid, although I did clearly buy it used. But that's pretty typical. I buy a lot of used games because I'm not necessarily the most up-to-date gamer, but I buy it eventually. So I was super into Harvest Moon DS. I'm actually even... I don't have the second puzzle game, but I do have Harvest Moon Frantic Farming, which I believe was the first one. Unless this was the second one and the one I don't have is the first one. But I even, so far as having Frantic Farming, which I believe I actually had Frantic Farming before I had Islands of Happiness. So it's so funny, like, I didn't know these characters necessarily. These weren't the character set I was familiar with for Harvest Moon, but it was a Harvest Moon puzzle game, and I love Harvest Moon, and I love puzzle games. So actually, I do love this game. Never actually, there's parts of it I haven't beat. I'm not sure if it's challenge mode or story mode. It's been a while since I've gone back to it, because there are parts of it that I'm not good at the game. I just really like it. But also, you know, there's only so much losing you can take with, so you give up sometimes. But yeah, and then I did eventually get Sunshine Islands. And somewhere in all of that, I had fresh out of high school, my first job. My first job was working at FYE. And I was working at FYE that Christmas, and it was the first Christmas I was making money. So I bought my parents presents. I bought them video games. My parents do occasionally play video games, and like I said, my mother is now, like, addicted to Harvest Moon. And my father, actually, I bought The Elder Scrolls Oblivion for myself at one point in high school, and almost never saw it again after I let my dad play it. So my dad, Oblivion, Skyrim, like, my parents are gamers. It's cool, I guess. Like, they were the ones who, like, wanted a Super Nintendo, so we got a Super Nintendo. Our Super Nintendo was used, I'm pretty sure. And then, like, my uncle gifted us an N64 at one point. Like, there's a lot of exchange that way, in my history of coming up in video gaming, with my parents not necessarily being, like, intense gamers. My parents are actually bigger gamers now than they were back then, but my parents not being opposed to video games and actually, like, playing them with me, and it not just being something their kid did. Although, my parents are both, like, they were children in the 70s, so of course they like video games, like, and they were teens in the 80s, so, like, you know, that is their age group. I have fairly young parents, and those are my parents. Like, that generation is my parents, and they had just experienced, like, video games as new and novel and cool in their childhoods. So it was very acceptable in my childhood that video games became a hobby for me. But back on track, I bought my parents video games because I could buy them in the store where I had a discount, and it just seemed like, I don't know, it's what I decided to do. The game I bought for my mom was Harvest Moon: Tree of Tranquility, which I had not played, and like obviously I wanted to play, but I did gift it to my mom. It was my mother's game. I have it now because I have the Wii. The Wii went with me, and so went all the games, so I actually have all of that now. But it's okay, because my mom has actually completed each of these games. But yes, so she began with Harvest Moon on the Wii, and believe it or not, she really took to it. Like, she wasn't just, like, no, she didn't just like it, she became good at it. And, like, she got through this, like, for someone, I had never gotten, like, to, except for, Wonderful Life, where technically the end of the game is, like, the end game credits are the first year you get married, and that's in credits roll, and then everything is, like, I think everything after that is technically post-game. So I've gotten to that at some point, but like none of the other games had I ever technically like finished or gotten like my farm to like a certain success level or anything. I was somehow really bad at these games, and I'm surprisingly much better at them now because I gave my mother this game. But yeah, she finished this one surprisingly quick and sort of immediately went off and was like, I have to go find another game. Did they put out another game? And they actually, at the time, I think there weren't that many Wii Harvest Moon games yet, but actually there was one of these. I don't remember which one of these was newer. There was a Rune Factory game out. It was one of these two. So she actually also picked up Rune Factory and was like, well, this is like Harvest Moon, I'll do that. And I didn't think she would like the like battling and stuff, but actually, like, because my mom wasn't like into RPGs, but she actually took to it surprisingly well. And both of these, one of them, which was long awaited, when it came out, she was like, when's that game coming out? When's that game coming out? My game's coming out. It was so great to like have that experience, like for the first time, my mom like getting excited for a video game, and now she's like kind of excited every time a Harvest Moon game comes out. But yeah, and at some point we did buy Magical Melody. I'm not sure where we picked this up from. It sure has some gross junk on it, though. That's fun. Haven't noticed that. It must have, yeah, it definitely used to have a sticker on it. But yeah, we got this at some point, and I can't remember if it was me or her, but I know that I was super excited about it, because it was like, that's my favorite Harvest Moon game. And then she completed it, and I actually I haven't played this game. I have not played the Wii version of Magical Melody that I can remember. We bought it and then I just never touched it. And then, because my mother's like Harvest Moon need could not be satisfied, she bought a 3DS. My mom has a 3DS XL. I cannot remember what color she has right now. I want to say she found a pink one. But I could be wrong. It could just be she found a cover that's pink. But my mom has a 3DS XL that she's had since I was at least, like, she's had since the XL was, like, fairly new. Because I may have allowed her to play something, like, on my 3DS, and it was, like, too small for her. And she was like, they came out with this big one. I'm gonna buy that. And she actually bought that, and I have a collection of, she gave me these games because she beat them. Like, she did everything up to max level, everything, like her farm was, she had all the upgrades she could possibly do. She had the spouse and child, whichever it is in each game. So this is, I actually have Rune Factory 3 and 4. The case for Rune Factory 3 seemed to have gone missing on her, but do have the case for Rune Factory 4, and I do have Rune Factory 3. Rune Factory 3 actually being my first Rune Factory, because I never played the Wii ones. Rune Factory 3 actually, because I started with that one, being my first Rune Factory after she gave these to me. And the Harvest Moon A New Beginning. She also did have, so she did have the Tale of Two Towns 3DS game, but I had already bought that when it was relatively new. So it was a thing where I had my copy, and I think I might have let her like test play it, and then she was like, I'm just gonna get my own. And that might have been when she got the 3DS XL. Because I was super excited about this game, and I played quite a bit of it, but I have not completed it in any sense of the word. It's on the list. I'm gonna get back to it. I'm getting through all of them. I have actually, I believe, completed the story in Rune Factory 4, and I'm just trying to get my horse husbando to marry me. Cause horse husbando, he's so cute. He pretends like he doesn't even like you. It's great. I might have problems, but he has fluffy ears and a little tail. Too cute. That's where I'm at with that game, and also my sanity. But this is actually, I really like the story in this one, and this one actually, so I thought for a time, like, oh, this is somehow so much easier than Rune Factory 3, but then I went back to Rune Factory 3, and I'm actually killing it on that one too. So there has been an absolute turnaround. I have figured out how to play these games. But my mom used to sit there with the, like, I'm pretty sure she used to do guides and lists, but she doesn't even need them now. Like, she doesn't need the, like, list of, like, heart things, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna go marry this person, and, like, this is how I do it. And, or, like, oh, I need to know which crop costs the most, and all of that. Like, she got very into the, like, metagame a little bit, but she doesn't need to do the guides about it anymore. She's just like, yeah, this is just how farming sims work now, and, like, it's just part of her, and that's so awesome. In my opinion, I love that about my mom. She's very passionate about these games, and she's always showing me her Stardew Valley farm, because obviously when Stardew Valley came out, I was like, Mom, there's this new, like, Harvest Moon-like game that's on PC, and it's just, you can marry anyone, and all of that. That was so hype about that. And so I've had Stardew Valley for probably twice as long as she has, but her farm, she's like, I've done almost everything, I'm just waiting for the next update. Don't you want to come over and, like, play together? And I did. I have played Stardew Valley. I have played multiplayer Stardew Valley with my mother, because I'm a good daughter. Also because it was fun. It was actually a lot funner than I expected it to be, because I was a little worried, because it's just like, it's a farming sim together? I don't know. It's been such a individual activity my whole life, but it actually really works somehow. We're just like, yeah, and I'm gonna go harvest the apples, and I'm gonna go plant this and fish for that, and it was actually really interactive and a very good experience. And then there's actually, that I haven't shown you, there's one last, I don't know why I need to show you this. At some point in time, I bought Harvest Moon Save the Homeland, which was also for the PS2. Clearly, I bought it very used, because it was turned in without even a cover. So I don't have the nice cover for that. It bothers me a little bit when this happens. Like, obviously I still buy the games because I want them, but when I'm not able to get the covers, it bothers me just a little bit, because as you may see, As you may see, I've kept almost every game cover, but they're not actually, well, the disc ones are, but my DS and 3DS games are actually not in the cases. I should have brought this closer, but I have the little shell cases that keep a whole bunch of them because I used to travel with my handheld. So I'm like, must keep cases, but also not carry them around. I actually have always been this way. It took forever for me to get rid of most of the boxes for my Game Boy Color games. And I might actually still have the box. I don't actually still have the cartridge. I still have the box for Pokemon Yellow. I definitely still have the manual. I have the manual for all of the like Game Color games, Game Boy Color games. I don't still have the cart, but I definitely still have the instruction manual for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Why did I get rid of the game? I don't know. I would much rather still have the game and not still have the freaking manual to taunt me about how I used to own that game. But that's what happened. Anyway, moving slightly back towards the topic of Harvest Moon. This has been a very, very off-topic video, but whatever. Moving back towards that topic, I also have, and I just decided to include this. I have this game that my mom gave me when she gave me the Harvest Moon game she was done with. And she had picked out this game because she had hoped it would be something like Harvest Moon. And it is this game, Hometown Story, which is sort of infamously, well, maybe not infamously, but it is disliked. It does have the reason she thought it would be like Harvest Moon. It does have this misleading from the family of Harvest Moon thing, because it is Natsume, it is yet still not really at all like Harvest Moon. You run a little item shop, which is a concept that is done much better in a little game I have on Steam called Reciteer, which I highly suggest if you've never played, because it's super cute, it's super fun. In that one, you're a little girl who is supposed to try to pay off her father's debts. Like, your father's gone missing, but he has like a ton of debt. So this fairy that's like a loan shark comes and she's all like, you gotta pay us this money back. And of course you're just a little girl, so you're like, what? But she just helps you open an item shop, and you get to like hire adventurers and then play as them to do dungeons to get items and all sorts of things. And it's actually really good. But yeah, Reciteer, I honestly love that game. This game is a less well-executed version of that. You do run an item shop, and you don't actually have any dungeoneering, but you like find items, forgeable items, you purchase from, it's funny because you purchase from other things in town, and, sorry, 2 people just walked by my window, one after another, like, less than a minute apart, and I'm like, really embarrassed that today is the day I have my window open, talking to my camera, and 2 people walk by. This is why I don't leave my window open. Anyway, as I was saying, do you, like, buy stuff from the other shops in town and then sell it in your shop, which doesn't 100% make sense, because that seems to be where, like, most of your stuff comes from. Like, I don't know. It's been a little while since I did it. I got much further in this game than my mother did. But you basically just keep doing that, and you keep running around town hoping to trigger some cutscenes because there is a little bit of a story, but it seems really hard to trigger the cutscenes and actually get the story going, and the goals just, it just doesn't, there's not as much to like actually do. You're mostly standing in the shop selling stuff to people, which can be interesting, but it's nice when there's more to do to break that up, like in Racketeer, where you do the dungeoneering. And I know there's a bunch of games that are based on the idea of you're the shop seller and all of that. And I'm sure many of them are very good. I think Hometown Story is not particularly well executed. It just is there, and I feel like I just want there to be more to it. But yeah, watching my mom get really good at Harvest Moon over the years has actually lately made me like go back to Harvest Moon games and be like, I want to do this. I want to also beat some Harvest Moon games. And like I said, I got to the credits. I believe I finished the main story in Rune Factory 4, and obviously that was a huge, like, yay! So I've been on a slow crusade to complete, to a certain degree of complete, not necessarily upgrade literally everything and blah blah blah, but to at least some level of, like, if there's a story mode, like if there's a bit of a story, kind of finish the story, or if the goal is like, it's sort of the ultimate goal to get married, like that's the thing that's hardest to do in the game or whatever. I'm going back to that, or definitely at least trying to get married in all of the games, because that is a thing I usually haven't gotten to in most of the games, and it's a thing I want to do. But I'm getting good at it, and I'm getting a little better at Stardew Valley. Still really shitty at fishing in Stardew Valley. I hate fishing in Stardew Valley. And my mom can still kick my butt at it. At all of it. If the Stardew Valley co-op was somehow competitive, my mom would win. Every single time. Absolutely, hands down. My mom is really good at Harvest Moon. Really good at farming sims. And I'm really kind of proud of her for that, and I know I talked mostly about myself in this video, even though I said the whole premise is like, let me tell you about how I got my mom obsessed with Harvest Moon and how she's really good at it. She is, though. She's really good at it. And I'm proud. Like, that's cool. To me, that's cool. And I have a pretty cool mom. And I think that's all the story time we can handle today. I think that was more than 20 minutes of babbling. We'll see if I can cut any of it down, or if I'm just very attached to everything I said. But yeah, I will see everybody next time. Bye!